Ever since Elden Ring was released, katanas have had a massive influence in the game, or at least for me personally, especially with how overpowered they've been in Elden Ring's lifespan. I mean, do I need to remind you of how broken Rivers of Blood was? But as things like the Rivers of Blood have been nerfed over time, there has always been one katana that has been an absolute beast and still holds up to this day. That particular katana being the Moonveil. Now today we're going to be looking at what is possibly the greatest katana in all of gaming, and I'll also be showing you how to turn it into an absolute godslayer, dealing thousands of damage with each swing. Obviously, just a quick plug first of all, make sure you hit that like button if you happen to like any part of this video, and if you're new around here, why not subscribe, because I'm going to be showing you all sorts of crazy builds. It's free, and I can show you how to destroy every boss in Elden Ring, so yeah, why not give that button a click? Anyway, jumping back into the reason why you've clicked on this video in the first place, the Moonveil, that is the weapon that we're going to be discussing today, and I guess it's only fitting to show you how to get it. I'm sure probably most of you already know, but for those that don't, you do actually get this by going to the Gale Tunnel, more specifically the Caelid side, because there's two entrances, one in Limgrave, one in Caelid, but go to the Caelid side, basically naturally progress through that tunnel, and then at the bottom there will be a magma worm boss which you need to defeat, and upon defeating said magma worm, you will then be granted with the Moonveil. It really genuinely is that simple to go and get it. Okay, you need to defeat a sort of like mini boss to get it, but it's fairly easy to defeat. And then now that you've successfully obtained the weapon, you will need to have these particular stats in order to equip it and use the Ash of War successfully. So you're going to need 23 intelligence, 18 dexterity, and then 12 strength. And as long as you've got those, you're pretty much good to go. But obviously in this video, I'm going to be showing you an insane build around this weapon, and we're actually going to be focusing it on the level 150 character. So I will be showing those stats on screen for you. As you can see, we've got 35 vigor, 32 mind, 25 endurance, 12 strength, 48 dexterity, 50 intelligence, 20 faith, and 10 arcane. We haven't put anything into arcane, we only put the 2 that we needed into strength to wield the weapon correctly, and then mainly focused on intelligence and dexterity, as those are the 2 main scaling factors with this particular weapon. Just as a key note with the stats there, the intelligence will buff the Ash of War the most, because with the skill power, the transient moonlight, you deal magic damage with that. So if you want to boost the Ash of War more, you can maybe say take a few off of dexterity and put more into intelligence if you wanted to do that. However, I mix and match my gameplay, so I also use the blade itself because it also has bleed build up, believe it or not. So it doesn't only do magic damage, it also has a blood loss ability, so that's why I switch up and actually just use the katana itself if I'm up close and personal. But if I want to unleash the katana's full power, then I will let loose with the Ash of War. Now I will discuss the other stats as I'm going through the video as well, but just to also pair those stats with some insane talismans, you're going to want to be looking to add things like the Scorpion Magic Charm, as that boosts magic damage by 12%. That will be directly affecting the Moonveil's Ash of War. As I mentioned earlier, it is a magic damage dealing ability, so that's what we're going to be focusing on, is trying to build as much magic damage as possible with this build. So the Magic Scorpion Charm is a brilliant first talisman to put in there, but obviously it does hinder us a little bit and we take a little bit more damage when this is equipped. So to counteract that, I have also included the Dragon Crest +2 variant. Obviously you can use any Dragon Crest if you've got any in your inventory, but ideally obviously you want to be using the best one possible, because then that negates the extra damage you'll be taking with the Scorpion Charm equipped. And again, just to boost the Ash of War even more, we can use the Shard of Alexander, as that again greatly boosts the skill powers such as the Transient Moonlight. Now the 4th talisman that I'm running is actually Godfrey's Icon. That is because I'm pairing the Moonveil with a sort of like really strong intelligence build, so I am also using things like Great Phalanx, Terra Magica as well to also boost the damage output with the Moonveil. So that's why I'm using Godfrey's Icon, as that will help boost my spells. It does not, just repeat, it does not boost any damage with the Moonveil. So if you don't want to be like a battle mage or just purely focus on the Moonveil, I would highly recommend having something like the Green Turtle Talisman to help with stamina regeneration, because you do use stamina when you're using the Ash of War with this thing as well. Or maybe a Heirloom to boost either intelligence or dexterity, just to get the most damage output out of this weapon. Or if you've got anything that can reduce the FP consumption with it as well. So maybe something like the Carrion Filigree Crest could also be handy for you. And as you should be hopefully seeing on screen, this thing literally decimates most enemies. The beauty of this weapon's Ash of War as well is that you can do 2 different variants. So obviously you sheath the weapon by holding the left trigger or L2, and then depending whether or not you then use your light attack or heavy attack buttons, you will do a different style of the transient moonlight. If you use a light attack, it does a sort of like area effect wave that goes sideways, dealing the same amount of damage to basically anything in that vicinity. So if you're clearing out a dungeon or you're in a tight spot and there's a couple of enemies coming towards you, this is extremely useful to basically clear that wave, get you out of trouble, and deal again thousands of damage to multiple enemies at once. But if you want a more heavy hitting move, because maybe you're coming up a singular enemy or a boss, you would then use your heavy attack to do the transient moonlight downwards, creating a straight line of magic damage which deals a considerably more amount of damage and also can stagger enemies as well. But if you thought that wasn't enough damage for you, there's still more ways to improve it. Remember earlier where we mentioned our stats and I had 20 faith for some apparent reason? Well, the reason for that is if we pair everything that we've got at the moment with the Goldrick's Great Rune, we then give +5 to all of our attributes. Meaning, with faith specifically, that will go to 25. And what do you need 25 faith for? Our good old friend Golden Vow, as well as Flame Give Me Strength. You will also have enough faith to be using that. And as I mentioned earlier, if you're running like some sort of half-breed mage build with this thing, you can also be using Terra Magica. All 3 of these buffs can be used at the same time to increase your damage output by quite a significant amount. And if you thought that wasn't enough, you can also mix in your Wonder Physic. More specifically, putting the Magic Shrouding Crack tier on it, as well as pretty much any other one that you'd like. I personally go with Stonebar Crack tier to help boost my stance damage to allow for more critical hits against bosses, but you again can put anything else in there that you want. But more specifically, the Magic Shrouding Crack tier will also boost the Ash of War damage even more, and I'm going to be showing a direct comparison with just the talismans and the weapon before the buffs, and then also everything with the buffs. So on screen you should be seeing that we're almost doubling our damage with Golden Vow, Flame Give Me Strength, Terra Magica and the Wonder Physic, which is doing thousands of damage per hit. As I mentioned at the beginning of the video, there have been many katanas that have been overpowered in the game. Obviously, more notably, things like the Rivers of Blood have been a pretty much crutch weapon in the first couple of months that Elden Ring was out, just basically allowing you to destroy anything just holding the left trigger. But as time has progressed, obviously more and more updates have come out, things have been nerfed, things have been buffed, but the Moonveil still to this day is my favourite katana and can be buffed to high heaven like you're seeing here. This damage does carry over to PvP, and it is also known for being sort of like a one-shot weapon, because if we're doing 2000 plus damage against an NPC in New Game Plus, you can probably tell that we're most likely going to be doing the same amount of damage to regular players online, and unless they've got sort of 50 plus vigor, they're pretty much going to go down in one hit. And the beauty of this weapon is you can obviously swap the different Ash of War moves, so you don't necessarily always have to do the strike down, you can do the swipe and catch people off guard and do a little bit of tomfoolery and a bit of a trickery to be like, what am I going to do? Am I going to do this one or am I going to do that one? And yeah, you just become sort of unpredictable and extremely heavy hitting when you hit them, probably making your opponents throw their keyboards through their screens. Then that's also another reason why I love it so much. Yes, it's annoying when you come up against it, of course, but if you're struggling in Elden Ring and you need sort of like a build that isn't just purely on bleed, or you need something that's going to do high amounts of damage, fun to use, really quick Ash of War and movesets for just the generic attacks of the weapon, the Moonveil is pretty much your go-to weapon for all of that. As I mentioned throughout the video, you can basically tailor it to whatever playstyle you like. Because I like using mage builds and using magic in the game, that's why it's sort of got that hint of sort of like a battle mage vibe with my specific build that I've made in today's video. But if you just want to go all out with the katanas, or maybe even pair it with a different katana and use 2 at the same time, you could also do that. As I mentioned, Godfrey's icon in this particular build is good, but if you're not using any mage spells, definitely don't use it, because it does not affect the transient moonlight, so the Ash of War for the Moonveil. Definitely use something else. And if you've got any other ways to make this build better, obviously do let me know in the comments down below. It will be interesting to see if you can get even more damage out of this thing, so if you've got a way to do that, let us know. But yeah, that's how you can turn this thing into an absolute beast and go and tear up the lands between with it. Hopefully you've enjoyed this little video showcasing this incredibly unique weapon. Obviously, if you did happen to like it, once again, do hit that like button down below. It really does mean the world to me, and also lets me know that you enjoy this type of content and you want to see more insane builds like this. So yeah, hit that like button if you enjoyed. As I mentioned earlier, if you're new around here and you want to stick around for more insane builds, there's obviously plenty of videos on the channel at the moment, and there's going to be more coming out in the future. So if you want to stick around for those, hit that subscribe button. That way you'll be updated whenever a new video is released, and then you can be one of the first to know about the next insane build that we're going to be discussing. But other than that, I think I've taken up more than enough of your guys' time. So thank you so much for watching once again. I hope you have an amazing rest of your day, and I will catch you in the next video of whatever it is that we make. Bye bye.